We are fortunate to have two of the Honor Flight veterans with us today. Of course, they're from Hopkins County, and we already know Mr. Klein and Mr. Whitlock, but we see you in a different setting here. You got to have a trip of a lifetime, as Ronnie has said, to get to go to our nation's capital and see your memorials and all that is there for you as veterans. So we want to get your story, but first, as Honor Flight veterans, just hold on a minute, because let's set the scene for what Honor Flight DFW is from Judy Rawson, who is one of the organizers.
Judy Rawson Heaps.
Okay.
That's okay. Honor Flight, the national organization, started in Ohio in 2004 because Earl Morris wanted to get World War II veterans to Washington D.C. to see their memorial, and they didn't know how to maneuver, so he and some friends started carrying them in their private planes. And soon in 2005, this idea spread across the country, and we now have what are called hubs, about 100 plus across the country. And in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we are Honor Flight DFW. Started June 1st, 2009 with the first flight. I was on that flight with my dad, Gene Rawson, from here in Sulphur Springs. And I've been serving on the board since then. We are an all-volunteer group. We do not have any paid employees. We do not have an office. We work out of our homes. We work out of meeting rooms somewhere. Our first priority, of course, is World War II, because that's how all of this started. And we now carry Korea, Vietnam, and Cold War veterans. This last trip, we had more Vietnam veterans than we've ever had. We had 28 out of 42. And we had about 9 World War II, and the others were Korea. So we fly as long as we can raise the money.
Okay. And it all happened because of one man's sensitivity
to the World War II men and women that could not get to see their memorial, and that memorial was not finished until 2004.
So the World War II memorial was finished maybe last?
Last, yes.
Okay.
And these men and women were in their 80s at that point, 80s and 90s, and they just didn't know how to maneuver around D.C.
Yeah.
So his purpose was to get them there and to take them to see those memorials.
That's so kind. And also, you mentioned earlier that any World War II veteran that qualifies for the flight goes to the top of the list?
Yes, he does, or she does, because that's where we started, and because they are 90 to 100 years old right now. So we need to get them there while they can still fly. On this last flight, we had one that was 97, almost 98. We have carried them that are 100. And as long as they're mobile enough, we can take them.
Well, again, before we get to our veteran stories, and thank you, Judy, we want to find out from one of the guardians. Now, this is Tim Dent from the Metroplex area?
North of Dallas, yes.
Okay. And you voluntarily go with these guys, and not just these two guys.
Right. Yeah,
What do you do?
This is my 4th honor flight, and so as a volunteer, I'm assigned to a veteran. And typically, and again, for their safety and security, which is paramount with regards to the organization and how we care for them on this trip, you're basically side by side with them. And it even starts a week ahead of time. We have a pre-flight orientation that takes place that we accompany them to, so they kind of get the lay of the land and get a feel for what the trip's going to be like. And then on the trip, the guardian is assigned to the veterans, and then they are with them every step of the way. And given the fact I worked in the hotel business for 35 years, it came natural to me, because one of the things that we have as a rule is the veterans don't carry anything at any time. And that goes for luggage, anything that may come up during the trip. So it's just an honor for me to be a guardian. And even though there's this one-on-one type of physical connection, in this case, I had 2 veterans, and it really is a testament to Judy's organization, because they accommodated them because they're brothers-in-law. And because they're brothers-in-law, they wanted to make the trip together, so they got to stay in the same hotel room. And so I was their guardian, so each step of the way, over the course of a weekend basically, I was with them to see all of the war memorials in Washington.
Was he nice to y'all?
It was fantastic. Every step of the way, you need water, what can I carry you? You need to go here. He helped us
So,
It's like
Give me
family.
that sandwich.
We had those.
Let me ask you now, these two guys get around just fine apparently on their own, but some veterans go that are not quite as mobile.
that is correct. We have between 35 and 40 wheelchairs that go on the plane with us. We partner with Southwest Airlines, which does a great job as an airline partner. And so we have those wheelchairs there just in case some folks are tied to them in essence. So there's a lift-equipped buses that can get them up into the shuttles with the wheelchair intact. And I guess the other thing too to talk about is, the walking. Going back to the safety standpoint, it's important that we cater to their needs. So some have their own walkers, some have their own canes, but we've got the wheelchairs there as kind of a backup. So.
Well, I feel like there's a sort of a format that Honor Flight DFW does in each step of the way that you go. But I'm just dying to find out your personal reflection on it. I'm gonna pick on Keith first. If you'll tell me, what's the first thing what was the first impression? What was your first impression?
Well, I'll just tell you, at the Vietnam Memorial, I don't know whether y'all saw it, but I cried like a baby because that is moving. I can't tell you how long it is because I don't know, but it's the length of a football field nearly. And there's name after name after name after name. People I probably knew. I mean, didn't know. I didn't see any name on there that I did know, but I bet you a quarter there were people that I did know.
What about you, Ronnie? What would be
Memorial.
one thing?
Took me 3 tries. Tim, like I said, took care of us. Tim, take my hand. I couldn't do it.
Would this be the World War II memorial?
Vietnam.
The Vietnam, okay.
World War II was easy. The Korean Memorial is fantastic. The soldiers are in grass. They've got their pockets on them, and everywhere you look, their faces. You're looking at faces. It was great. It was the whole flight. And we got ready to go on the bus, as Tim said. There was a guardian behind us and one in front of us. I had a camera. Give me your camera. Give me your camera. Here, get up here. But it was great. The Iwo Jima Memorial. It's a trip of a lifetime. I'll never get to do it again. And when I asked a friend of mine here in Silver Springs, J.G. Williams, made the trip, J.G., what I look forward to? I'm not telling you. And I showed you, I put it up, I've got a challenge coin.
What is a challenge coin?
This challenge coin was some Roman times. And when the soldiers went out to combat, when they come back, the emperor gave them a coin. And they carried that coin. And if I met you, where's your challenge coin? If you didn't have it, you owed me a drink. And so Ted Koppel
Ted.
presented these to us. We've got a nice certificate that goes with us. And he came to the banquet and he presented these to us.
To each of you.
To each of us that was there, we got a challenge coin.
It's a wonderful keepsake.
And
That means
carry
a lot. You have a lot to tell me about your story of your military service,
Yes.
and I know. I want to get to both of them. I don't know much about Keith's story.
I went to aircraft school. I joined after I got drafted. I went to aircraft school, and I had never heard the word Vietnam till boot camp. So after my last class was over, my aircraft class, I'm saying there were 28. Somebody said it was 26, but there were 28 people. We all had our duffer bags packed. They gave us certificates, and the first 26 went on a plane to Saigon. And me and another guy went to New Jersey, to Lakehurst, New Jersey. And anyway.
And so from there,
Then,
from New Jersey, what was your
okay,
experience?
I was there for a few months. I was working on those little LOH helicopters. The Army bought 5 of these little small helicopters, fast jet-powered helicopters, and I assisted in radios and maintenance on those inspections. Then I got sent to Libya. You know where Libya is? That's where Gaddafi was. He was our houseboy. No, he really wasn't. But anyway, I was there for a few weeks, and I'm not sure how long. Then I was sent to Ethiopia, and I was there over about 12 months, and part of that time I was in Sudan, okay? And then I went to Liberia on the west coast. I was assigned as an aircraft mechanic to a survey company making detailed topographical maps. I don't know what detailed topographical maps are, but that's what they were making. And we were hauling supplies and doing the reconnaissance. So, and I was there basically 3 years, over 2 years. And that's what I did. And you know what I think we were doing? We were getting ready for the next war. And they've happened all over.
Yeah.
Over there, so. And then they let me go back to Cooper. That was the best part of the whole thing.
Tell me the years of your service.
64 to 67.
Okay. And back to Cooper, Texas.
Mhm.
And you have had your career here in Sulphur Springs and elsewhere, and are you retired now?
I am. I went to Tulsa and taught aircraft maintenance up there for a year. I came back here and got my degree, and I was assistant high school principal here in '73. And then I worked over at Commerce in the computer center for a long time. And then I taught school and I retired.
And you opened a business?
We had a business, Klein and Son. We sat right over there at that little table every Monday night, and we did call-ins, people with computer trouble. And I don't know whether we paid Bill for that or that was a freebie. I don't have any idea. But we did it every night, every Monday night for a long time. Had a ball.
Well, I believe that you were responsible for dragging Bill Bradford kicking and screaming onto the information highway.
Very
Which
likely.
he then embraced.
He did. I see it everywhere.
Yeah, he did.
We had crank telephones in here for a long time. No, we probably really didn't. But I
Well,
do remember them.
Here in the museum, you'll find lots of the old equipment that we used to use.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask Ronnie a few questions about your service. You've shown me a picture of a big ship,
Yes, ma'am.
and you can tell me before you got there, if you want to start that way.
Okay. I grew up in Cooper, and one day a buddy of mine and I were over at Paris one Saturday, and we walked by the enlistment place, and I said, let's join the service.
What?
And it was midterm senior year. And
Yeah.
I enlisted. They let me finish high school, and San Diego was quarantined due to spinal meningitis. So I went to Great Lakes, Illinois.
What was the year?
63. I got out in May, and in June I started my senior trip. They sent me to aviation school in Memphis, and I hadn't been gone from home that much, and I come home for a weekend pass, and Monday morning we had a test. And Wednesday I was in TDY to San Diego, California. I like 2 points passing my test. I spent 2 years in Kizurazu, Japan on a bingo base.
At what base?
Bingo, we preservation, depreservation, and the plane's getting ready to go to Nama, shooting touch and go landings at our airstrip. The 214 was there. They came in for about 2 weeks getting ready for Nam. Played baseball with them, cookouts, had a ball. There were 60 Americans, it was a whole base. I was on shore duty, drawing sea pay. Of a morning we could see Mount Fuji from where I was at. We was 40 miles from Tokyo.
So 2 years there.
For 2 years. I come home and went aboard USS Oriskany, CVA 34.
This ship is named what?
Oriskany, O-R-I-S-K-E-N-Y. She was named for the Battle of Oriskany Creek in New York.
Is that this ship?
This ship right here, there was more people, I grew up in Cooper, there was more people here than there was in Delta County. There were 6,600 people when we got our fighter squadrons aboard. We had 4 squadrons of fighters. We had a detachment of Marines. I was in B-2, cats and gear. I worked in recovery, right under the flight decks. I had a buddy that was plane handler in the next division, and that's the only one I knew out of my division. You worked, slept, and ate in your division. We operated out of the Gulf of Tonkin. In '66, she blew up. We, Suic Bay, we unloaded 67 caskets. Second day out of Midway Island, we had burial at sea. One of the pilots was flown home. We could recover. We couldn't launch, but we could recover and went burial at sea. I was in parade formation, about 300 sailors. Our destroyers, we had 2 destroyers and a nuclear submarine, 24/7. They stood off our starboard side at flags at half mast. When they sounded taps, he had a 21 gun salute, and you could hear his body hit the water. We came on into San Diego. It was home port, and we stayed in San Diego for just about a week for the family men to get to go see their families. And they sent us from there to Hunters Point, California, and that's where I was discharged in 1967 in Hunters Point. She was in, what was that movie you was telling us? Top Gun as well, and the Men of the Fighting Lady in Korea. The Ariskin was built during World War II. The war ended, and she was decommissioned. The war, Korea broke out, and they redid it again. Korea ended, and they decommissioned her again. Nam broke out, and she was recommissioned for a third time. And now she's sunk off Pensacola, Florida. They made a natural wreath out of her.
And that's the USS Oriskany?
Oriskany.
Oriskany.
Isn't that it right there?
That's it
Okay,
right there
I
on my
see.
cap.
And so you chose to wear your military cap instead of the honor flight cap.
Yes, I've got my honor flight cap over there. There's pride in my ship. Tim had his father's cover, and we had the option of wearing our branch of service or our honor flight cap. And I said, well, I want to show the boat. I want to show the old boat. To the crew, she was a mighty old boat. We won the Navy unit citation, had the Green Navy, and we had our ship's shoulder patch. And I had my dress uniform up until about 2 years ago. I gave it to a great nephew.
Well, show us that photo of yours from back then.
This, I was about 22 years old when this was made.
I can see you,
I
Ronnie.
was white-headed then. And again, this is a ship.
And tell us some idea of the size of this and tip
It
it
was-
like that a little bit.
It was 980 feet long. From the flight deck to the water line was 90 feet. We had F-8Us, A-4 Crusaders, or Skyhawks, and the A-1 Crusaders. We carried a radar plane and 4 helicopters. The helicopters were the first thing launched. When we went to launch, we turned into the wind. When the ship went full speed, the launch speed, with the helicopters and the whale, that was our refueling plane, was launched. The fighters were too heavy to make a strike. And quick as they were airborne, they were refueled. If we took an 8-hour stand down, we put 2 fighters on the cats. They had 30 seconds. If we went to general quarters, they was in the air or in the water, but they wasn't on a ship. They took 8-hour shifts strapped into the planes.
How in the world did you get from Cooper, Texas to the middle of the ocean?
That is a good question. My dad was Navy, and I knew I was going to be Navy, and I got tattooed. My dad had a tattoo. This is my dad and my sister, Francis Klein, and my dad. Dad was World War II. He was on the ship, and I made up my mind that I was going to go Navy. And I come home and I said, Dad, I enlisted. He said, you're going to finish high school? I said, yes, sir, they're going to let me finish school. And I got out, and I wouldn't take $1 million for my experiences. And this trip has just sealed it. We started out at the Navy Museum, and then we went to Arlington, Virginia, and spent the night. We saw the Army, Air Force, Marine museums. We saw the Korean Memorial. It's fantastic. And the wall. We saw the changing of guards. That is something to see. There was our group, Florida and Oregon there. We were in L shape. We had front row. And they told us before we got there, said they can't salute you. But when they come by, they scoop their boots, scoop their heel, and that was our salute. And if you listen real close, you can hear it as it rated by us. When they changed the guard, they had a white gloves inspection. There was a man walking the perimeter, and there was 3 come out, and a sergeant called them to attention. They stood attention. He gave a white glove inspection to the man going off duty. He wiped his piece, he checked his uniform, and then they changed guards. When they changed the flowers, the guard went to a little building on the side. I don't know exactly what it was, but the guard went and stood at attention in that while they changed the wreath. They had a sign as we walked in, quiet. No chewing gum, no cigarettes, no telephones. And we was told they took it real serious with a telephone. It was something to see. We saw Audie Murphy's grave. Audie Murphy was real small. They called him 2 bits. It stuck. we put a quarter on his stone. Texas quarter. Had to be a Texas quarter. Tim made sure we each had a Texas quarter, and we put a Texas quarter on his stone. He was the second most visited grave. John F. Kennedy and then Audie Murphy were the two most visited graves. And we were speaking earlier about World War II. Mr. Lucky Dude, we told you about him. Lucky Dude was Bloody 100. And we was talking to him, Mr. Lucky Dude, do they still have B-17s? He said, I asked him at 90, could I fly? Did you fly? He said, yeah. How old are you, Mr. Lucky Dude? 97. Using a walking stick. I admired the man. Got around you would not believe. And we had a POW with us. And it was something. The Air Force Band gave us a private concert in a new auditorium. And Mr. What was his name? Sang a song that he had written about the war.
Mr. Jammers.
And when he got up singing, I think they kind of thought, yeah, sure. Before he was through, he had him standing.
So was this one of the
It was one of our
honor
honor
flights?
flights.
Wow, he showed them, didn't he?
He showed them that he could play and sing, and he had written the song himself. And it was just it's an experience of a lifetime.
Well, how much this youthful experience that you both had briefly, and then you live the rest of your life, but you never forget it. But isn't it wonderful to know that others have not either?
You will never forget what we've seen and got to see and share. And August the 17th, we're going back to Dallas for a reunion with this group.
Good.
And we had our send-off in Sulphur Springs. Blue shirts from times past were there with us.
Oh, I see.
So it's quite an honor. It is really, and at the airports, people were lined up.
Thousands of people when we
You would
came
not
in.
believe when we left and when we came home. And Dallas Police Department had their honor guard at Love Field for us.
You should be made to feel special, and I'm so glad that they got all this in place to do so. Keith, tell me some more of your impressions about this trip, the Honor Flight DFW
It's
trip.
hard to do because there's so much. I've got it in here where we went. You may turn to it again real fast.
And while you're doing that, I'll say that the photograph that you brought up before with a Francis in it has some significance, doesn't it?
It did.
Okay.
We took that.
That's
So
right.
you two are brother-in-laws.
We're
You
brother-in-law.
married Ronnie's
Keith
sister.
married my sister. That's my
I
sister
did.
and my dad.
I did. I went to see him, and he wasn't home, but she was. And I felt for her deeply, deeply, deeply.
And Ronnie's spouse is here today, too.
Yeah.
The very first day we went to the Navy Memorial, then the World War II Memorial, Korean, Lincoln, and Vietnam. What is that, Lincoln? That
Oh, that's the
Memorial.
Lincoln, yeah.
And then Vietnam Memorial. And then the next day we went to Arlington Cemetery, changing of the guards, the Women in Military Service Memorial, the Marine Memorial, which is a
He was-
touching
Yes.
thing.
It was.
Whoa. And then we went to lunch at the Air Force Memorial, and then we had a concert at the Air Force Max Impact. They have 6 bands, am I right on that?
Yes.
And they go all over the world entertaining and whatever, for military groups. So anyway, have we got time for 10 seconds of humor?
10 seconds for
Can
sure.
you get that
That is
picture?
the next band.
Can you get the picture?
Oh, yeah.
See me standing on this side of this helicopter, and you see that the helmet, the flight helmet, is a dog, right? And I tell people, and it's a lie, but I tell them that we were assigned to train dogs how to fly helicopters. And this dog was really good. It could hover and fly straight and all that, but it had a problem. It wanted to chase cats. That's my attempt at
cute,
humor.
Keith.
But that's
These are my
me
brother-in-law.
just
He's
before I
classic.
came home. So anyway,
I love that.
I have good pictures. So if you ever
And good
want a trip
stories.
through Africa, I can
Oh,
give
yeah.
them to you.
There you go.
And hopefully during the 4th of July season coming up, which is very timely that we get to do this today, we can use some of this music you brought back from
If you would like to
from
make a
the
copy of it, you're welcome to. They wrote the songs.
United States Air Force Band.
They wrote the songs. They were the rock band. And the hall that we went into, we were the first ones into the auditorium. What would you call it?
Since it's been redone.
We were the first ones to have been in it. We had a private concert.
Tim, have you seen this trip evolve in any way on your 4 times you've gone?
I have, and it's each one's different. Obviously, the individuals are different. Their personalities are what contribute to the trip, and you can see that the emotion that just came out in this interview, and that's what is rewarding for me, to know that my father, my father-in-law weren't able to go to this trip. For me to have the opportunity to accompany veterans like this, men and women, who again are my heroes, and will always be, is what makes it special. So,
And
a
they
credit
s-
to them.
They say you have caught honor flight.
Itis.
It's a fever, and I caught it, and it's called honor flightitis. So I've got it for a
And
long
that's
time.
okay with your wife?
It's quite all right.
Okay, good. She's here today
Quite all
too.
right. Yes, she
Here's
is.
the solemn presentation that the Air Force made to us. Were you out there?
No, I don't do the fast dance. Just the slow.
I can see that y'all enjoyed your celebration.
It was
And it
fantastic.
was a celebration.
It was.
This lady, we don't know how old she was, but she served over here in the corner. You saw her at the
She was a wax. Wait,
on Okinawa, she told me. So that'd have been right after the war, probably, wouldn't it?
Yeah, she
Right
was
after that, doing it.
Korean. Yeah.
Korean.
Right.
Isn't that great?
Judy, how long do you think you'll help people go on the honor flights, DFW?
As long as I can. I can't imagine a flight going out and not being on it. So, as long as they let me stay, I guess, at this point.
Do we have more World War II veterans?
Yes,
to
we
take?
do. And our only advertisement is word of mouth. So we just, like this, like any opportunities that we have, spread the word, tell everybody. We have a website. They can go on our website and get the application. They can call me. I'll send them an application any way they want to do it. We just need to know about them. So,
Is there a website that we can give
yes,
out?
yes. It's honorflightdfw.org. So,
Thank you for what you do, Judy, because you are a facilitator, just like your Aunt Linda. You facilitate people to get to do memorable things.
it's, to see it through my dad's eyes. And then every time I go, I see it through their eyes.
And I see that it still touches your heart.
Yes, it does.
Thank you for your memories shared with us today, Keith Klein, and for your military service.
It's been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you,
It's
Ronnie
a
Whitlock.
privilege. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
You're very generously sharing all the things that you remember and are impressed with, and that lets us almost feel like we could have gone there.
Yeah.
And you too, Tim Dent, for what you're doing.
Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.